Bless him.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, women's empowerment coach, author, book coach, and all-around fabulous human being. I created this series because I really believe in the power of story. I believe that it has the power to inspire us, empower us, motivate us, and make us feel less alone. And listening to other people's stories and their journeys, I think it really benefits everybody. So I have spoken to some incredible people through the series, and I have another amazing guest for you today. Her name is Caroline Gaskin with Cat. Caroline, how are you, my darling?
I'm good, thank you. This is Binks. Look, yeah, this is Binks, the magic cat, obviously. Who will just be, yeah, he just wants to take part. But no, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, we're good. You know, we're both busy people, so it's nice for us to sit down and have a chat and put the world to rights as we want to do, right?
Definitely. Well, this one's just good. He just knows when I do stuff automatically. If I have a client, if I have a meeting, he just knows and is like, "Oh, let me go and see if I can take part." Maybe I've got I'd like to tell my story of why I'm named Binks and how my mummy makes me watch Hocus Pocus every year and that sort of thing.
Bless. So, as you guys know who watch this podcast by now, I let the guests introduce themselves because I think it's the best way the guests can say what they need to say in the space. So, Caroline, tell us all about you. Who are you and what do you do and all that gorgeous stuff?
Yeah. So I'm Caroline Cads. I go by mostly, to be honest. I'm not great with labels, but I suppose I am a reader, healer. I like to help people just see that they can do all of the things that they see other people doing on Instagram, and that spirituality doesn't have to be this, I'm going to meditate for 2 hours, omming away. Actually, if you've only got 5 minutes, you can still be as spiritual and woo as you wish to be. So just putting it in like practical ways. So yeah, that's most of what I do. And obviously I wrote a book that you kindly kicked my bum and got me to write and edited and everything for me. So yeah, so my book came out 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now.
Did it really? No,
No, 2 years ago. 2 years. That's 2 years. Yeah, 2 years ago now.
Wow,
It's gone. Crazy. Yeah, it has. It's gone really quick. So that came out 2 years ago, called Sacred Boundaries, that sort of covered my journey with boundaries, how I didn't have any, and what I did healing wise to be able to put them into place.
Yes, and it's a wonderful book, and I will put the links to that in the description box, so go and check it out after watching this podcast, of course. So I love the way that you make all these things very practical and down to earth and grounded, you know, as somebody who's been on this journey myself for 14 years at this point, and read lots of different books and, you know, watched videos and podcasts and done courses and all of that good stuff, like most of us. I think from what I've seen is that a lot of people seem to make it quite up there and out there, something that's almost like highly mystical and highly like you said, the 2 hours meditating. It's like they almost try to make it like a hierarchy system. So where it's like, oh, the most enlightened can reach the highest level kind of feeling. And I feel like with you, it's like it's part of your life, it's part of who you are, and that's really what you try and pass on to other people. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think the more you make it this big thing, that the more you're just gonna the more it's this big thing that people see on Instagram or Facebook or see sort of these gurus doing, the more you beat yourself up thinking, I can never do that. I'm not worthy of doing that. I can't do that. And that's not what all of this is about. This is about just being you. And basically we're humans, and being human is dirty and messy and a bit like treacle. And we've still got to honor all of that at the same time. So if your spirituality gets a bit, or your beliefs or your practice gets a bit dirty and a bit messy and a bit treacly at times, let's not beat ourselves up for it, because I haven't meditated today. I haven't had bloody time. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Like, I haven't.
Absolutely.
Who's had chance? I've brushed my hair. That's a win. Do you know what I mean? It's down. It's not just in a messy bun on the top of my head, because I've spent time on that today. But
which is a win. As someone who's worked with cows before, I can tell you that is a win. So
yeah, exactly. This is it. Most mornings by this point, do you know what I mean? I haven't been for my swim, I haven't been for my gym practice, I haven't done, because you know what, this morning I woke up and went, oh God, I just actually want an extra hour in bed. So I just gave myself that because that's what my body needed
yeah.
over sitting and going, I've got to get to the gym, I've got to do this, I've got to do my meditation, I've got to pull my card, I've got to get my journal out for 20 minutes then afterwards to see. I've pulled my card this morning, it's really pretty. And I've gone, oh, I'll have a look at that later. And I've shoved it on the side of my desk.
That's real. That's the thing. It's real. It's real
Yeah.
life. It's not separate from real life. And I always say this, I mean, there's no hate towards anybody who has any kind of religious belief, because I am somebody who, you know, long as you're not hurting anybody or yourself, you do you, boo. I don't care. For me, though, and I always liken it, religion seems to be, for me, walking in somebody else's shoes, but also it's quite structured, I suppose. So it's like, you know, you do it in a certain way, or on a certain day, or in a certain building. You know, it's very kind of like, this is how we do it. It's very traditional. Whereas
Yeah.
spirituality, to me anyway, is very much, okay, so you do you, boo. It's like really trying to like wave it through. And for me, my key turning point was like, well, if I believe I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, then surely everything I do then is spiritual, because I'm there.
Because I'm in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, it doesn't matter if I'm doing something that's classified spiritual, it's still spiritual to me. I don't see those things as like this
No,
or
this is
that.
it. It's not that, it's not separate. It's just who you are. Some of my clearest messages and visions in the last 3 or 4 months have come through while I've been sat in the steam room after my swim. There's been no saging prior. Well, I suppose I have cleansed. I've been in the chlorine pool. I imagine that's probably
And then you're in the
cleansing.
steam room, so you are kind
Yeah.
of cleansing.
So I'm sort of cleansing while I'm there, but there's not been a crystal on me because, you know, I'm not wearing them in a chlorine pool. I'm not damaging the hell out of that. I'm not risking that. So there's not been a crystal on me. There's not been an incense stick burning. There's not been any saging going on beforehand. I've just had 10 minutes to myself in a warm room, getting a bit, you know, moist, sweaty.
I love that word, right?
Well, it's sort of like the steam room has this horrible thing where like the water like drops on your head and you sort of go like, but you know,
you're really selling this shit, Kaz, not gonna lie.
Yes. 10 minutes peace and quiet, and that's where some of my clearest messages have dropped through. No candles, nothing. It's because it is just part of life, so they'll come through when I have that 5 minutes to sit and let them come through. No ritual, no circumstance, no pomp beforehand. Just I've sat my bum down for 5 minutes, so it's come through.
That's the thing, isn't it? I think a lot of it is getting out of your own way. You know, we're so in our heads, and most of us overthink to death. I know I do. Jesus, I overthink about overthinking. So at this point, it's like it's crazy. So
it's a level on a level, isn't it?
Oh no, exactly. When I've reached the boundary with overthinking. That's where I'm at. You know, when you're sitting there in that space, and you know, yes, I suppose some people would be like, "Oh, what are we having for dinner?" or "Oh, I've got this appointment," or "I haven't done this," or you know, that kind of thing. But there's also, I think, space to just be, you know, because you're in there for a set period of time, and you know that. And so it's like you can just be present. And I think when you're present in the moment, that's really when you allow and make room in your brain for these messages to come through.
Yeah. But that being present is the hardest thing,
of course,
in the world we live in, because we've got our emails going off, our phone to scroll through, dinner to make, shopping to get, work to do. Do you know what I mean? But so if you just find space for 2 minutes while your coffee does, your kettle boils, to just do it, then that's how to do it. If that's what you can spare for that day, then do that. Like the coffee machine takes whatever it takes, the kettle takes however long it takes. Sometimes that might be the only 2 minutes to be present in the moment you've got in that day. Do it and see what drops in.
Yeah, I remember I used to say that to you when you were writing, and I said, you know, it's not like going off for 40 days into a log cabin and I'm going to write a book. I said, because you won't, it's too much pressure. You have to be greedy and grab the time that you have, you know. And I think spirituality practices, at least, as kind of a similar thing in my brain. It's like, grab the time that you have.
Yeah. The best chapter of that book I wrote was the one I wrote on my iPhone on a train to London. the one that came the easiest, I literally sat on my iPhone, like half, I don't even think I had a seat the whole journey. No, I don't even think I had a seat the whole journey. It was one of those ridiculous weekends where London was rammed.
Yeah.
Stood up for some of it, just tapping it out on my phone. The chapter that came the easiest was that one.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Bonkers. But it's
Yeah.
not how anyone would tell you to sit and write. They, prepare your space, make sure you've got, a clear head, make, some water, that sort of thing. If you read sort of the
Won't I ever say that
textbooks.
to you, Kaz?
No,
Won't I
you
ever say
didn't. But
that?
I say if you read the textbooks of like, prepare a space, have some peace and quiet. I was jammed on a carriage of a Chiltern Railways train going to Marylebone, going,
Yeah.
it's just come to me, tap it
Yeah.
out.
You
And
have
yeah,
to.
emailed it
It's
to myself.
making time and space, though, isn't it? That's the point. And the best ideas come to me when I'm walking on the schoolroom. So when I'm walking down there, which takes half an hour, my brain just kind of again getting out of your way. And that's when I'm working on a book at the moment with another author. We're co-authoring it. And my ideas for the chapters will just be like, I'll go. But I have to then, there's been times where I've like pulling up my phone, I'm trying to walk along the street and like this has to come out my brain. I have to write this down quick.
Voice note it so you don't get run over.
Yes,
Voice note it.
Don't crash into trees and people. That's a good idea.
Yes.
Oh, bless you. So obviously, like most of us, I hate to use this term, but there isn't a better one. You have been on that journey, right? So I'm guessing, and they're kind of guessing because I've worked with you, but I'm guessing that you haven't always been in this space. So in terms of your spirituality in of itself, what has that been like for you?
So it's one, I suppose, like a lot of people, you dip in and out. So I do credit some of it with being like an innate thing now. I come from a line of women that have all kind of been credited with some sort of like sight, some kind of like, that kind of thing. And as a kid, I loved animals, talking to animals. It's no surprise I didn't have the human children, but I've got fur babies. When I look back now, I go, yeah, there's something in that, surely. Loved my star sign as a teenager, would be in all like the what you'd now call like the new age shops where like the incense was burning and they had like all the sort of jewelry of snakes and eyes and all the rest of it, all of that kind of stuff going on. But then, I followed my star sign religiously. My gosh. Fully lent into that as a kid. Didn't understand it, I don't think, to the point that I do now, but fully lent into like reading it all the time. But then you go through that sort of like late teens, early 20s where it kind of got a bit forgotten-ish. But still there in the background. There's a shop here where I live called Zen that I used to get crystals from and stuff. Sort of my early 20s, and still credit like manifesting my husband with one of my crystals because I had like this huge rose quartz that I've still got in the corner. Did the writing down what you wanted your partner to be, put it in the red envelope, put it under the rose quartz, put it in the love corner of the room. Me and my housemate, we sort of like feng shuied the whole house. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so it's always been going on a little bit. Brought a crystal, like I said, that was going to like bring me the loyal, devoted man that I wanted. Met him a few weeks later. All the photos of us when we were early together, I've got this necklace on, and I've still got the crystal now because I've kept it. So I still fully credit my crystals and manifesting to getting the husband.
I love that.
Yeah, it's always been there. It's always been like something I've lent into. But then it sort of fully kicked in when I was about, oh God, this reveals my age somewhat, doesn't it? I was 35, and suffering from just generalized anxiety. So I've been diagnosed with like generalized anxiety disorder. What causes it? I think what causes it, although you'd get I don't know if my GP would buy into this. I think what causes it is being an empath, basically. That's what I've come to terms with. My anxiety of the world is because I'm picking up on so
Yeah.
many of the different energies all the time. So didn't realize that at 35, didn't have that sort of explanation of it working in my head properly. So took the antidepressants and the anti-anxiety and stuff for a bit, did the talk counseling, CBT counseling, which helps. I'm not, the human side of me, that did help.
Yeah.
But the deep down bit that needed to just understand how to protect my energy better, didn't understand that. Went to a Reiki lady here because that cropped up on my timeline, divine timing from Facebook. This was before Facebook ads, listen to every word you say. It was, it was like 9 years ago. I'm not sure the algorithm was as good then. Now, it would definitely put it on your timeline, but was away on a holiday thinking, I really should be enjoying this holiday. This is like a trip for our first wedding anniversary. We've come away to Portugal. It's beautiful. Why am I sitting here just worrying? Went on my phone to distract myself, and this Reiki lady who lives around the corner from me, advert pops up on Facebook, and I just instinctively go, that's what I need. Press on book and book it. Have no understanding of why I'm doing this. I'm just, no, this is what I need. I have to do this. Go to her for some Reiki, which turned into quite a long journey with her then. But the very first session, she pulled out Kyle Gray's Angel Prayers deck, the sort of the first one he did. And the reading was just brilliant. She just did 3 cards. The sort of, if anyone follows Kyle Gray, he teaches a spread that's Strength Heart Challenge. What's really good about your life, what you need to lean into more in your heart space, and what you need to do more of. And it was spot on. And I've always kept a photo of it. I've still got the photo of it where she WhatsApped it to me. And I went away just going, I just want to know more about this man's work. That reading was so great. I want some of those cards. I hadn't done cards. I'd had angel cards before, hadn't used them a lot for years. Probably had them. I actually found them a few months ago. We were clearing out our understairs cupboard, and I actually found them. And they're very yellow and old now because they're sort of like 20 years old, but I've kept them in a box because I was like, oh yeah, that's my very first deck. Went and got Carl's deck, picked up one of Doreen Virtue's at the same time. And then obviously within days on Facebook, there's Kyle advertising himself and this angel team, angel tribe that he is going to set up to teach people. And I'm like, oh, I need to do that. And so signed up to that. Spent a few years with him I would say within 6 to 12 months of that sort of Reiki, regularly leaning into Kyle's teachings, meeting people on this same path. I was off the antidepressants, off the anti-anxiety drugs, and understanding more of cleansing my energy, what energy vampires were, how to stay away from the energy vampires, how to, steer clear of the conversations that were making me anxious, why having the news on at 7 o'clock in the morning while I did my hair for work was a bad thing for me, because it was, filling me with all this is the bad in the world from the minute I was getting ready to do my day, and then listening to more of it in the car as you drove to work. So just understanding more about that empath side of me got a hold on it. So yeah, then obviously I went through the story that I've shared in the book. Although I sorted my anxiety out, my boundaries were shit. Just appalling. So in 2018, I had emergency surgery for a kidney stone. I have like a blood condition where I have high blood calcium, and kidney stones are just a result of it. My body doesn't understand calcium. I had emergency surgery for a kidney stone, had a stent fitted, was waiting for the stent to be taken out. Stents are really painful. Stents are shit. Stents are a horrible thing. If I ever need one again, I will refuse it point blank.
Knock you out first, yeah.
They're just awful things. There's got to be a better way. I'm sure there has to be. So I was on quite a lot of painkillers, shall we say. Internally absorbing painkillers, popping pill painkillers, what I could get my hands on to keep myself comfortable, I was taking. And didn't say no to a meeting. Could have said no. To be fair, the person that I had the meeting with is in no way culpable for me driving like over 200 miles that day, or even setting myself up to try and drive that distance. They'd said, but while you're waiting for your follow-up surgery, let's just leave it. I was like, no, I'm fine. My favorite phrase, I'm
I'm fine.
fine. Because I was good at clearing my energy and getting other people's energy off me, but I was still shit at saying no.
Yeah.
So attempted to drive my car from Bromsgrove, where I live, to Cambridge, quite a long way, on quite a lot of painkillers. Stopped and took some more because that's the sensible thing to do after a couple of hours, obviously. Got myself a McDonald's Coke and popped some more to get me through the day.
Sure.
And fell asleep at the wheel of my car in the fast lane of the A14 and side drifted into a lorry that I didn't know I was there. Didn't stop. He had no clue. It's a big, the one of the huge,
Yeah.
where they've got the cab and then the big bit that they
The big
attach to it to
SUV.
deliver stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Proper big lorry. I don't even think he saw my little car. I had like a little Hyundai i20 at the time. He didn't see it. Thankfully, somehow, as we hit, I woke up and managed to get to the side of the road. We're still fine. Rang the police, but I was still fine. Went to my meeting because I was still fine, bleeding, but I was fine. I was such an idiot, honestly. But I remember that day, literally before I fell asleep, doing like a bit of a morning prayer and just saying to my angels, just make today okay. Just get me through today. Just make it okay. And I was like, my car was screwed, but I was fine. I was in a bit more pain because I had jiggled the stent around in the shunt. I had a bit of a cut on my forehead, but ultimately my car was a cube a couple of weeks, and my car couldn't be driven home from Cambridge because it didn't drive in a straight line anymore. To drive in a straight line, you had to steer like this. So the car was screwed. The car was a write-off. The man didn't stop, which actually in the long run was a blessing, because if there'd been an investigation into what had happened, I don't actually know what would have happened to me. But there was no evidence that the road, it's strange how it worked. Well, it's not strange. I think it was to save me and to wake me up, obviously. Where I crashed, there was huge amounts of roadworks at the time. It's a road with loads of speed cameras. Everyone was and CCTV, like road monitoring. Everyone was saying to me, "Oh, you'll find the person that did this to you," because I wasn't really like opening up to people about the state of me, obviously, because if you're people pleasing, you don't do that.
Sure.
But somehow, the police had no trace of the lorry. We're in the area of the road where the cameras weren't working, so there was no footage. And I just merrily got on my way. There was no witnesses. One woman did stop and just check I was okay because she could see the state of the car in the hard shoulder.
Yeah.
And I think she could like physically see how I was shaking, but nobody else stopped. And that saved me an investigation that could have gone where? I don't know where it would have gone. So
it's absolutely crazy. It's like, it's all about how things play out that feel very meant to be and very synchronistic, right? And it does feel like you're kind of being protected, right?
Yeah,
in that
definitely.
I had a similar thing when I was with my next husband. We were driving from the Midlands down to Cornwall, where my parents were at the time, and it was a Easter holiday weekend, so the road was stupidly busy, and we had a car that, in hindsight, was sold to us from quite a dodgy used car salesman. And I was not 100% comfortable in that car. Anyway, we start halfway down, and you go to the toilet and get snacks and stuff. And as we pulled back onto the motorway, now again, bear in mind this is Easter weekend.
Oh gosh, yeah.
As we go onto the slow lane of the motorway, all the electrics in the car simultaneously stopped, all at once. Everything just cut out, and the car was slowing down and losing speed. Now, it's a motorway, and for those who aren't familiar, the speed limit on the UK motorway is 70, but at the set miles an hour, but at the same time, there are drivers who do more than that because,
Mm.
you know, people drive. And yet, when I look, and I was just went, Archangel Michael, help, please, now. And when I looked behind, there was not one car behind us, or lorry, nothing.
Wow.
Our lane was empty, and there would not have been time for anyone to move over. Just wouldn't have been time. And so the car stopped. We're still on the slow lane of the motorway. And then the car, I swear down, I swear, this sounds absolutely far-fetched and fabricated, but I swear this happened. The car then went from a standing position where it stopped, and it then rolled itself forward, and my then husband then just turned the wheel and it rolled onto the hard shoulder and it stopped.
Wow.
And then it was like, and then the traffic started up again on that lane. So it was almost like somebody pressed pause, moved out the way,
yeah, moved you out the way.
pressed play. And we just looked at each other and we were like, what just happened there? It was insane.
Because Easter weekend and Cornwall, like one of the most popular destinations.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like nose to tail traffic usually to get from like around here, Midlands, down there. It's, you know, hours of traffic.
Yeah. It was insane. And that's what I say, when things like that happen, you know, or at least I believe that there is more going on here than just, oh, that was just coincidence. I'm like, no, that's not a coincidence. That was something else was going on in that space. And I'm so deeply thankful. I'm really thankful that you were looked after, because the mind then goes to what could have happened, right?
Oh yeah,
what the alternative is, and none of that is happy space for your brain to go into, right?
I did my meeting because you do, don't you? With my boss at the time going, you sure you're all right? I'm like, yeah, I'll just, yeah, fine. I'm fine. Got a train back to Birmingham because obviously there was no driving the car back. That wasn't, unless I drove like this all the way home. And I don't know how far I would have had to have gone to turn right. I don't know how that would have worked. So yeah, drove. Got the car to my meeting ridiculously because I was only like I think it was like a mile and a half from it. So got the car to a safe space where it could just be abandoned for a truck to come and get it. And got myself home on a train, but I sobbed the entire I don't know what people in the carriage thought. I sobbed from Cambridge to Birmingham New Street. I sobbed from New Street to Bromsgrove. I got in my front door and just fell on the floor and beat myself up for days. Was never going to drive again, was never rang the hospital and insisted they took the stent out as soon as possible because it was ruining my life. Which I think my consultant secretary thought was a exaggeration until I drove into the side of a lorry yesterday because of this, and then miraculously they found a slot to get the stent out of me.
With that, isn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, they managed to get the stent out of me, and again, even that's not something I would ever have done beforehand. I would have just gone, I just have to sit with this. It's fine. But after that, I was just like, no, this. So rang. I would never have been bullshit enough to ring. And so instead of having it for another 6 weeks, had it for another week. That was all.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a saving grace in itself. And then thought, once I'd recovered and stopped the daily beating myself up for being a silly cow, wondering what could have happened to everything that I could have left behind, moved into a space of, well, if they saved me, they could help other people. So maybe instead of doing this closeted spiritual existence I've kind of been doing hidden away, maybe I've survived all of this to go and help some other people and live the life I wanted to live. So quit the job that I wasn't that fussed about. Well, I hated, actually, to be quite fair. Got the sort of the dream job that I'm in now, and decided, the time to go and spread the word a bit more instead of leading the sort of spiritually closeted Narnia life I was living. Because I do say to people, like, there's being in the wardrobe or the closet, whatever you want to call it, and then there's like Narnia, and I was in Narnia. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was well far back in the closet.
You were Mr. Tumnus, right? You were just showing out there.
Yeah, I was there just having tea with him in the afternoons. Do you know what I mean? Like, chilling with our cards and crystals. But if people were coming around, I'd put them away. If there was So, but now they sit out all the time. I don't care. We've just been on holiday, and we had a cat sitter come to live with the boys. I'm a bit of a precious cat mama. I can't help it. We had a cat sitter come and live here while we were away and stay with the boys and look after them and everything. And for a split second, I thought, oh, she might, because my room is, it's cut. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no secret other than my cold cup of coffee, obviously. There's no secret going on. My drum's out, my crystals are out. You know, there's bookshelves of witchy books everywhere. And for a split second, I was a bit like, oh, I wonder what Katie will think. And then she came and looked around. She didn't murmur. And I was like, why did you even think that? Like, if you've found I've stalked this girl for a year to make sure she was going to be the perfect cat sitter for my babies, do you know what I mean? You've checked her out, you've met her, she is the vibe that you wanted. Why did you even consider hiding anything? Don't be ridiculous, woman. You're just being ridiculous. Because
I
now
think
I think I just,
ridiculous is a bit of a harsh word. I think that it's old stories of people
yeah.
pleasing and fear of rejection and fear of abandonment. And I think it's a very real thing. I know that's something that we talked about during the writing of the book,
Mm,
and looking at that witch wound, which for those that are not
mm.
familiar with that concept, can you give your take on what that is and how it affected you?
So it's basically our fear of being seen, of who
Yeah,
we are, and it can be passed down depending on how much you believe in past lives and everything. I fully believe in them. It can be passed down either generationally, if you had people in your family, in your ancestral lineage, that were part of that time where women were persecuted. Well, women and men. The more I researched into it as I was
yeah,
writing, there was 20% of the people that were persecuted at the time were men that sympathized or protected or lived a similar lifestyle. It's not
yeah.
only been women through these years that have lent into using herbs and healing and energy work.
Mm,
So if you had somebody in your ancestral lineage, it could be passed down to you in
yeah,
that, because their behaviors over the generations have all been very much scared of being seen.
yeah.
Or you can have lived a life, obviously, where you were persecuted yourself.
Yeah.
And I did a fascinating past life session. I've done a couple now. Is it three now? I think it's three now in total I've done. I did a fascinating one with a lady who took me back um to like a street sort of, I suppose you call it like a street urchin life at some point, where I would like scavenge for food, but to take it to other people.
All right. Okay.
It wouldn't be just, for some reason I would feed myself, but I was also like delivering all this food I was stealing from this like Arabian markety type place.
Right.
There was a witch life,
Hmm.
and in this witch life I had this amazing vision as she was taking me through it of being in like a pond, like a very small sort of expanse of water,
Yeah.
but loads of reeds and stuff, and men chasing me, and me just hiding in the reeds and going under the water
Yeah.
to not be caught and then come back out. And she talked to me all about everything that had happened to me there. And it resonated so much because now anytime I'm upset, I always say to people, like, I lived somewhere by water for years. I've
Yeah.
been telling people I must have lived somewhere by water, but now I think it was like where I hid myself for
Yeah.
safety, because I go to the swimming pool, I'm just happy. I go to a beach near water, I'm happy. If I'm in the sea, if I'll go and sit up by the reservoir and the canal where I live, I'm just happy. I
Yeah.
just am. So I feel like actually it was the place where I hid and
Yeah.
felt safe. Like nobody could get me while I was in the reeds under the water.
Yeah.
Um, so that gets passed down in this whole being scared to truly come out and tell people you believe in the things that you believe, because not
Hmm.
everyone understands it. My own husband doesn't understand it. He's perfectly accepting of me, my lifestyle, what I do. Will talk to me about it, but he doesn't get it. It's not his
Yeah.
belief. Um, and it can take a lot to trust what will people say. We live in quite a judgmental world, let's be honest.
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah. But we
Is
do
that
have
called
this
social
fear of
media?
judgment.
Everyone's got an opinion, right? And everyone else is
Yeah.
wrong, and you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's that fear of like can I live fully as myself, embodying who I truly am? Will I lose friends? Will I lose, will people look at me weird? Will people talk about me behind my back? And people have done that to me. I've got friends that I don't well, they weren't friends. To be honest, now is the space that I've got to.
Yeah.
Before the accident, I would have panicked my bum off if someone ghosted me when they found out what I believed in. I would have been heartbroken and panicked. And now I just think, well, that's just not who's meant to be in my circle. My circle is beautiful. Do you know what I mean? I have the most amazing friends. I was with one last night doing like a witch wound release. It's so funny you bring up witch wounds because we were doing like a witch wound release for her last night. My family members know and accept me. Ones that I thought would have thought the book was really weird were really like supportive about it. If you ever want to get over a witch wound, write a book about your life story, then put it out there, let people read it. Do you know what I mean? It's a pretty good way to cover most of it off without having to explain it to people. Just read this. But that scared the crap out of me releasing that book.
I remember it very well. We had lots of chats.
Yeah, it was the most emotionally confusing time because you're properly excited to do it and you want to do it, but people are going to read your story and know who you are and know what you believe in, and that was pretty scary. But nobody's said anything negative to me about it, and I've broken down in tears many times since it came out because of people thanking me for writing it, because it resonated and they used it and they used some of the rituals and stuff in it. And it was just nice to read that someone else was shit at boundaries too, somebody said to me.
And that's the power of story, right? That's kind of one of the things I say, is that it makes us feel less alone, because I know, having gone through stuff in my own life but not being in a space to talk about it and share, being quite like, oh, people will judge me kind of feeling. And you feel like everybody else has got their stuff together but you feel like, it's the Taylor Swift, it's me, I'm the problem, it's it's really, it's isolating. It makes you feel like you really are the problem. And yet if you realize that the power of talking and sharing and being vulnerable, which of course is such a scary word for people, you realize that everybody's got trauma, everyone's got stories, everybody's dealing with something, everybody's got their issues and their insecurities. Like we're all in the boat, really. You know what I mean? In our own way.
Yeah. And one thing that sharing them does is help other people understand theirs. And just not fit and find a way out, because if you share yours and you share your way out, somebody might hear it and be like, I could do that way out too, actually. Let me lean into that and try that. And it doesn't matter. Absolutely. I think one of the books I read lately, well, it's not lately actually now, it's about 18 months ago, but time just is a blurry concept in life, was Gabby Bernstein's, can't remember the name of it, Happy Days.
Yeah.
And she talks about trauma, but the big T's and the little T's.
Yeah.
And just accepting that you don't have to have had this huge trauma. You can have lots of little things. They're still traumas. You're still going to have to acknowledge them as traumas. And if she hadn't have shared that and her view on that, how many people would have gone, oh, but just because that happened to me doesn't mean do you know what I mean? And dismissed what's happened to them. So however you share it, it resonates with people. And I didn't expect my story to resonate with people, but it did.
I always say, when you share your story, it releases you from the shame that was never yours to carry in the first place. And shame is one of the most, I don't believe emotions in and of themselves are good or bad. I think they're just messengers from our body telling us to pay attention to something. But shame is so toxic, because shame is something that's very personal and very private most of the time, and yet it's like death from 1,000 paper cuts. It is so debilitating and toxic and weighty. And I think that until we get, like, say, that vulnerability and that honesty, that just feels like you just let it go,
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
And regret.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
If
regrets
you
just
can,
we all have it, but it's such a wasted energy because you can't do anything
yeah.
about it, right?
But the thing is as well, if you kind of, I could say I regret getting in my car that day, but you know what? I actually don't. I actually don't anymore. I did for a while. I actually
Mm.
don't now. And I refuse now to regret any of my past choices
Yeah,
because all my choices led me to where I am today and I'm
yeah.
happy.
Plus,
And
there's also the fact that you did the best that you could do at that time with the
mm,
person that you were and the knowledge that you had. The choices
yeah,
that we make, it's hindsight that makes us go, well, that was stupid, because you
yeah, yeah.
know how it's played out, right?
Mm,
You know the outcome. But at the time
mm,
you made it, you didn't know that. You were just
mm.
doing your best in that moment. And I think people give themselves a terribly hard time.
Yeah, exactly. If you can let all the shame and all the regret go,
Yeah, absolutely.
then you can move into a space of just going, this is just me, this is how I'm going to live.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's my thing
definitely.
for this year. My thing for this year is just, everyone picks a word at the beginning of the year.
Mm.
So last year was quiet because I just needed some downtime. Just wanted a quiet year. That was it. I just wanted peace and quiet. This year's just joy. So I'm just doing whatever I want to do.
Love
If
that.
it makes me
Love that.
happy. And anything that doesn't make me happy that somebody asks me to do, I just go, no.
Love that. Love that.
And
So,
it's sort of like the follow on from the boundaries is
yeah,
now
I was
like
going to
my
say.
use of the word no. And I'm honing it properly this year by saying yes to all the things I want to do that I would never usually do. I mean, the credit card people will love it. But the also like the people going, oh, I was wondering if you could do this. No, it is just so I'm just loving it.
It's a full
It's
sentence,
yeah.
right? I got to try and teach this to my daughter because she means the time we record this, she's 12 tomorrow.
Oh,
I
happy
know, bless
birthday to
them.
the
I bet my
twins.
twins, yes,
They're both
yes,
12 tomorrow.
they're both 12 tomorrow. But she was saying, well, I can't just say no. I need to explain it. And I said,
No,
no,
you
you don't.
don't.
I said no, the full sentence. And of course, being so autistic, bless her, and 11, she went no because it hasn't got a noun, a verb, and an adjective. Because that's what they're learning. And I was like,
That's
well, technically
yeah.
it kind of does, but I get what
Well,
you mean.
fair play for paying attention in English class. Do you know what I mean? Like, round of applause for that. You can't discredit the explanation of why she needs to say more, though, can you? Because it's a bit of an awkward one, isn't it?
I know, I know. And of course, like her brother, and then of course they were arguing, going, "Yes, it is." No, oh, for sake, it was one of them. But yeah, trying to teach her the essence of it. It's like you don't need
Mm,
to track play behind you to explain why you don't want to do something,
mm,
right? You don't, and we do. We think we have to come up with excuses and justifications and shed load of guilt, shed load of shame, right? And
mm.
it's ridiculous. Sometimes no is just no. It's
It's just
fine.
no. I just don't want to. There's no
Yes,
explanation. It just doesn't. As you invite me to do it or say, could you do it? Nothing about my body goes, I want to do that.
yeah.
Everything about my body goes, no. So
Oh God, I
there's
had
no.
that moment. Kaz, I don't know if I told you this. This is crazy. So, for those who don't know, I had a chronic health condition for like 2.5 years with my
Mm,
my cycle, my periods, and it was awful. And
mm.
then anyway, this year I've had my hysterectomy, and I'm a lot better now, thank God. But they were trying desperately to get me on the marina coil,
Oh God, no.
and so
That's my doctor's had that conversation, and that was a big no.
that's
No.
the thing. So my doctor was trying it, and then the gynecologist at the hospital was trying it, to the point that I actually joked and said, "You guys sponsored this is ridiculous. You all just kind of push this on me."
They push it a
But so
lot.
the last appointment I had with the gynecologist, and luckily I managed to get my hysterectomy because she wasn't there and it was somebody else as a stand-in. It was great. But anyway, so she goes on this marine coil, and in that moment it was almost like my body was like, we're not talking about this anymore. Like, this is
Mm,
a hard no. And I swear every muscle in my body from the top of my head to my little toe cramped at the same time. It's like
mm.
my whole body went no,
Nope.
just
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And I joked, obviously she's a woman of science and rational thought and that. So I
Mm,
said, I know this probably doesn't make any sense to you, but my body is telling me no right now, to
mm.
the point that if you tried to put it in right now, it wouldn't go in. So I'm really sorry, this is not an option. I don't want to talk about it anymore. And she went,
Mm.
do it yourself.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? I swear the NHS may be sponsored by them because it's a big thing. I've just started HRT because it's that time of life. And they
And
had the same conversation with me. And I'm the same. Every time somebody mentions it, I literally just tense up. I just go, no.
Yeah.
I can literally feel my womb going, oh, not
Yeah.
happening. Like my womb is literally like, no, no,
Yeah.
nothing in here, please, thanks, folks. So
Absolutely.
literally, I'm like, no. And then you have another conversation, and I've had last week I had an appointment, and I had exactly the same conversation. I just in the end, I went, can you just put on the notes? Mrs. Gaskin says no.
What's that with a Little Britain back in the
And
day? And it's like,
yes,
computer says no.
computer says no. And she just sort of looked at me and I went, it will just save you all having this
Yeah.
same pros, cons, I should try it conversation, because it is just a no.
Yeah.
So, and I had a look at patient access, you can have a look, and it says, Marina Coyle, no. And I was like, you've got it. Well done.
Because, and that's the thing, is that it's about, I think once you know what a no is, then you can think, okay, well, if that's a no, obviously whatever that looks like for you, and then you can figure out, okay, what's my yes, right? Which is like, for me, it's very expansive. I get like all tingly and butterflies. That's my yes. So then you have to trust that, because when your body's screaming no, but because you're in a place of people pleasing and not wanting to, conflict and tension and stuff, so you say yes, it doesn't go well, right? So it's like you have to learn how to trust yourself.
My body's never let me down.
No.
What's let me down is me overriding it.
Yeah.
It's never let me down yet.
Yeah. Your brain.
It's me.
I say to people, your brain can talk you in and out of anything if you give it enough time, right? So your brain will make a story and go, yeah, but if you say no, this could happen, and then this might happen, and you'll upset them, and then they won't help you. And well, it's just a story.
Exactly. If you just follow your natural, what you first go with, your no, your yes. And sometimes I have a little bit of an in-between.
Sure.
Of sit with it, come back to it later.
Yeah.
That's all I do then. If neither's kicking off big time, I'm just like, no, there's no reason to make a decision now. They'll wait for an answer. If they don't want to wait for an answer, then the universe makes it for me.
Yeah.
So that's fine too. But yeah, if you just go with it. One of the lady I used to have Reiki with, she used to do the thing where you sort of use your body, and I would fall forward if it was a no and go backwards if it was a yes, and she'd ask me questions. It's the best way to start leaning into it. Just let your body but don't fall backwards all the way, don't fall forwards all the way, do it safely somewhere you can, do you know what I mean? Just have a wobble either way. But just, we will innately make those decisions. We just have to listen to the innate decisions that we make.
Exactly. I love that. So thinking back now to that time before, and obviously with no boundaries whatsoever, and bless you, and being in that real people-pleasing space of I'm fine, which, by the way, fine stands for, I don't know, people watching this, it's fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So if someone says I'm fine, they're not fine.
They're not fine.
Thinking about where you were and where you are now, I mean, obviously seeing that growth and that change, but I mean, I suppose I always ask this question because I'm curious. If you could go back to that version of you, what the hell would you say to her, knowing what you know now?
Just that it will be okay. Because I think if I'd known that it would just all work out, I'd still done what I did. Like I said, I don't regret it. That's the people. So I know some people, some of my friends do think I'm a bit crazy when I just go, I don't regret writing the car off. I don't regret the accident. I don't regret any of it. I don't. And they're a bit like, but wouldn't you do it differently? I'm like, probably not. I was in pain. I'd still take the painkillers.
And you see them go,
okay. Yeah, this is it. But I wouldn't have had that moment. And lots of things have come from it, like the trusting my spiritual beliefs even more, understanding how much my husband would pick me up, understanding that support that you have, understanding what my yeses are and what my nos are. All of it came from it. So I'd still do it, bizarrely. I'd still take all the drugs. I said to somebody the other day, I'd still drink my way through my early 20s, my late teens and early 20s. It was fabulous.
That's the thing, isn't it? It is. That's like, yes, and my twins, they're doing the school about drugs. No, not taking them, obviously, but they're teaching them about drugs. It's like
the curriculum hasn't got that woo yet.
No, we're not that broken yet. And so, and my daughter being very excited, she's very autistic, so it's very black and white. So she comes out of school and she says, they said coffee's a drug. And I went, yeah, technically, I suppose it is caffeine. She said, why are you taking it? Why do you have coffee? It's a drug. You should stop having coffee. I was like, because I'm an adult. And it helps me and I like it. And she was like, oh. Yeah. And you're like, so try and explain to them that, like, even, and it's because she very kind of dramatic, watch your language and stuff. But I said, it's people who take drugs. I mean, yes, most of them are not in a great headspace, let's be real, but you have to recognize that it's not all doom and gloom, and like they take them because it's giving them something. It's whether it makes them feel good or it relaxes them or confidence or whatever it is. But of course, the payoff is that all of these dreadful things can happen. That's quite a controversial thing to say, but it's also true.
Yeah,
otherwise you wouldn't take it.
I don't drink now. I rarely touch a drop of alcohol now. I will have some Bucks Fizz at Christmas. Like we have like a Boxing Day Bucks Fizz kind of thing when we do family breakfast on Boxing Day. And I usually have like some Prosecco to celebrate, like something. I had like a bottle when the book came out. I had a bottle for my birthday. Do you know what I mean? But I don't drink the rest of the year at all, because I did it and I experienced it. And I know what it does to me, and I know the hilarious stuff it does, but I know the bad stuff that it does.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That's the
So
thing.
I lived it, learned it, and
some people can do that. Some people, that everyone makes their choices, right? But you have to know what the good side and the bad side of each choice is, and that's the point, I suppose.
That's it. So I'd still do the car crash because the good that came from it outweighed the few weeks of bad and the heavy insurance, the heavy increase in my insurance premium that came from it, and the car that I had to go out and find to replace it. But it all outweighed anything that happened that day, because I believe my angels stepped in. So thanks to them, all the bad of that day is massively outweighed by the life I have now. So I'd just tell her that it'll be okay, because it really was.
I love that. And I think that's a real key takeaway for all of us to hear, that it is going to be okay. It may not be okay today. It may not be okay right now, but it will be okay.
Yeah. And it might not be okay 24/7, 365.
And that's fine too.
And that's fine too, because we're human and messy, and we have to do the treacly bit to understand the fluffy white cloud unicorn bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And appreciate it. If we didn't have the sticky bleh, then the nice white fuzzy unicorn days wouldn't be white fuzzy unicorn days. They'd just be like, nah.
Exactly. Right. You can't know something's amazing all the time and you stop appreciating it, right? Say like somebody went and bought, I don't know, 70-inch 4K smart or Technicolor all singing all dancing television, like the top of the range TV. And when they first get it, they're like, oh my God, look at my TV. It's amazing. It does this and this and this. And oh my God, the picture quality. And blah, blah, blah. After about, 2, 3, 4 weeks?
Yeah,
it's just another thing. It's just another thing to dust. Let's be real, right?
Something else on the wall.
So that's the same with life. Yes, you're maybe going through some awful stuff right now. And we're not taking away from what you're going through. But at the same time, like you said, it makes you appreciate that when the things get really good, oh my God, you have to appreciate it. Because if it was really good all the time, you wouldn't appreciate it. It'd just be another thing to dust.
Yeah, exactly. It is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, bless you, cows. But look, this has been awesome, seriously. And I'm sure people watching it, I've got some really good takeaways and some really good things to make them stop and think, or just enjoyed it. Sometimes that's enough. You haven't got to have lessons and growth all the time. So people want to kind of reach out and find out more about you. Where can we find you online?
So I've got a website, which is www.sacredmoon.uk, and on socials I'm at Sacred Moon UK.
I'll put all this down here, so go and check her out. Also with the wonderful book Sacred Boundaries, that's on Amazon.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. There's a book.
Sorry, I'll be your PR. It's fine.
Yeah, sorry. Just talked about it. Yeah, there's a book. There's a book on Amazon, Sacred Boundaries. There's a crystal journal as well. There's a crystal journal on boundaries that I did over Christmas. If you like crystals, there's some channel messaging. It's a journal basically, but the pages are kind of, some of them you could tear out and use as grids if you wanted to. You can just scribble on it. You can it's pretty and crystally, fancy
nice.
doing
I'll
it.
put that down there as well. So go and have a look. That sounds awesome. But Kaz, thank you, my darling, so much. It's been such a good chat, as I knew it would be. And just, you know, go keep being shining and being awesome, right?
Love it. And with the cats as well, who are now like,
With the
what have you
cats,
been
of
doing for
course.
so long?
I know. Stop talking, mummy. I want my dreamies. No, I know, I get it.
Yeah, it's definitely Dreamy's time.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you've really enjoyed this. I hope that you found it as interesting as we have. And I will definitely see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.